What if I told you that an object exists that's so advanced it literally forces us to rewrite the history books? Well, today we're doing just that. We're going to dive into a mystery from the deep, an artifact that, by all rights, just shouldn't exist. We're talking about the Antikythera mechanism.
And no, that is not an exaggeration. This one single object, pulled from the sea just over a century ago, has totally flipped what we thought we knew about the ancient world. I mean, it's an incredible story of genius, of loss, and, thankfully, of rediscovery.
All right, so our story kicks off like so many good ones do, with a crazy storm and a pure accident. The year is 1900, and a chance discovery is about to make waves for the next 100 years.
Okay, so picture this. A team of sponge divers is taking shelter from a nasty storm. They decide to explore the waters where they've anchored. One of them comes up totally panicked, rambling about finding dead naked people on the seabed. It turns out to be a 2,000-year-old Roman shipwreck, just loaded with treasures, marble statues, priceless jewelry, you name it. But mixed in with all that bling was this one corroded, ugly lump of bronze, about the size of a big book. Seriously, they almost just chucked it back into the sea.
So this seemingly worthless lump gets hauled to a museum in Athens, where it basically just sits there, collecting dust. Nobody really knew what to make of it. But inside, it was hiding a secret that was, well, impossible.
So yeah, for months, it was just this weird chunk of metal, but as it started to dry out, the corroded casing began to crack and fall apart. And that's when someone saw something that just blew their minds.
An archaeologist was the first to spot it. Peeking out from inside the cracked bronze were gears. And we're not talking about some big, clunky cogs. No, these were tiny, intricate gear wheels with perfectly cut teeth, some just a millimeter long. I mean, the discovery sent an absolute shockwave through the scientific community.
Now, to be clear, it's not like the ancient Greeks didn't know about gears. They did, but they used them for big, heavy-duty stuff, like giant cogs for grinding grain or lifting water. This was on a whole other level. This was a system of tiny, complex, interlocking gears. It looked more like the inside of a fancy Swiss watch than anything from ancient Greece.
And that right there is the heart of the mystery. Let that sink in. This thing was a piece of tech that was, by every measure we had, over a millennium ahead of its time. It was like finding an iPhone at an archaeological dig of a medieval castle. It made absolutely no sense. So, the huge question was, what on earth was this impossible machine for? Well, it took decades of incredibly detailed work to figure it out, but the answer was just stunning. It was nothing less than a clockwork model of the entire cosmos.
Really, the best way to think about it is as the world's very first analog computer. I mean, long before we had digital ones and zeros, they had physical gears and dials. This machine used an incredibly complex arrangement of bronze gears to mechanically calculate the cycles of the heavens.
And using it was actually pretty simple. You'd turn a little knob on the side to dial in a specific date, and as you turned it, all those gears would whir into motion, moving a whole set of pointers on the front and back dials to show you a ton of astronomical information for that exact day.
And the stuff this thing could calculate is just mind-blowing. It could tell you the position of the sun and the moon. It could show you the phase of the moon. It predicted solar and lunar eclipses. It even kept track of the 4-year cycle for the Olympic Games. It was basically a complete guide to the heavens and Greek culture all in one little box.
But here's where the genius really kicks in. The Greeks knew the moon doesn't orbit in a perfect circle. It seems to speed up and slow down. So to model that tricky movement, the creator used this brilliant system called epicyclic gears. So just imagine a small gear not just spinning, but also being carried around the edge of a bigger gear. That complex motion perfectly mimicked the moon's variable speed. It's a mechanical concept that was just way ahead of its time.
For decades, scientists could only guess what this thing was truly capable of. But then, in the 21st century, modern technology finally gave us the key to unlock its deepest, darkest secrets.
Yeah, this has been a real marathon of research. Back in the 70s, the first X-rays showed there were about 30 gears hidden inside, which was already way more than anyone thought. But the real game changer came in 2005. A team brought in a custom-built 8-ton 3D CT scanner to get a look inside.
And the results were just incredible. Not only could they see every single tiny gear in 3D, but they found something no one expected. Thousands of tiny Greek letters inscribed all over the machine, hidden for 2,000 years. It was like finding a ghostly user manual etched into the very metal.
And that text, well, it confirmed everything. For example, one of the big gears on the back had exactly 223 teeth. The text confirmed this was for the Saros cycle, a period of 223 months that Babylonian astronomers used to predict eclipses. It was proof that this wasn't just Greek genius, but a fusion of Greek mechanics and ancient Babylonian astronomy. Amazing.
So once we started to figure out what it was, the next huge question was, who? Who on earth could have built this thing? Who was the ghost in this incredible machine?
Well, we don't have a name carved into it, but the clues are pretty strong. We know the Roman writer Cicero mentions similar machines made by the legendary Archimedes. The calendar on it uses month names linked to Corinth. But really, most of the evidence points to one place, the island of Rhodes, which was a huge center for astronomy around 100 BCE. It just fits. This suggests it probably came from the workshop of a great astronomer, like Hipparchus.
You know, the existence of this single machine does more than just add a cool chapter to a history book. It actually forces us to ask a really deep and kind of unsettling question about progress itself. This is the question that just haunts historians. If they could build this, what else were they capable of? And why did this incredibly sophisticated technology just vanish? Why did it take another 1,500 years for anything like it to show up again in Europe?
Well, there are a few likely reasons. For one, bronze was super valuable back then. Most of it got melted down to make swords or coins. These machines were probably insanely expensive and rare to begin with. But I think the biggest reason is that knowledge itself can be incredibly fragile. The secrets to making this were probably held by just a few master craftsmen. If that chain of knowledge gets broken by war or a fire or just bad luck, it can disappear forever. It's a powerful reminder that progress isn't always a straight line up.
The famous sci-fi writer Arthur C. Clarke had a fascinating take on this. He basically said that if this kind of technology had been built upon instead of lost, the Industrial Revolution could have happened in Roman times. Just think about that. It's an amazing what-if about a totally different path history could have taken.
You know, the Antikythera mechanism probably wasn't the only one ever made. We have writings that mention others. So this one surviving example, this ghost from the deep, it just forces you to wonder. What other incredible secrets are still down there, waiting to be found, waiting to completely rewrite our history all over again?